We're over a quarter of the way through the NFL season, and we're starting to get a pretty good idea of who's who in the NFL. The league is separated into contenders and non-contenders, and those who need just miracles. In other words, there are buyers and sellers, and those searching for a new religion as the trade deadline approaches on November 5th. Now that's a few weeks away, and Davante Adams' name, of course, looms large. Last year, we saw several players actually change teams right around the deadline. The 49ers traded for edge rusher Chase Young, who is now in New Orleans. The Commanders traded away Montez Sweat to the Bears. After Kirk Cousins' injury, the Vikings sent a 7th rounder to the Cardinals for quarterback Josh Dobbs. Seattle made a splash adding big man Leonard Williams to their defensive line. The Eagles went all in, adding aging safety Kevin Byard. The Bills got a playmaker and corner Rasul Douglas after Trey White went down with an injury. And of course, the Chiefs traded with the Jets to bring Mecole Hardman back home. And all he did was catch a touchdown in overtime in the Super Bowl. But nothing else, really, right? And I don't know if this deadline will be this active, but we have strong evidence contending teams are looking to add a final piece or two. I, Brandon Perna, master of football ceremonies, will break down and pontificate on who could be dealt and where today on That's Good Sports. Today's episode is sponsored by Bear. No, not the show, the Bear. No, not the Bears, Bear Mattress, the mattress I've been sleeping on for 15 or 16 months now. If your football team's not putting you to sleep, don't worry, Bear can help. So go to bearmattress.com/that'sgood to get 40% off your Bear mattress for a limited time. As a side sleeper, I actually did get the Elite Hybrid, which is a combo of inner spring, memory foam, and a pillow top mattress. It's like a triple threat QB who can pass from the pocket, run, and get all of the flags called in his favor. It's October, but it's still been like 80 degrees here every day, which means the cooling technology and the 5-zone support coil system that pulls heat away from my body has been keeping me cool despite a hot fall. Bear offers a sleep quiz that you can take on their website to help you determine the style of mattress that's best for you. And if you're not sleeping well, I suggest taking that quiz to identify if your mattress is the issue. We now have 3 bears in our home, our king and 2 twins, and my daughter's room for her trundle bed. Bear offers trundle bed mattresses as well, but this one was designed for 2 twins. Now, a mattress, it's a big purchase, so use my massive discount to save yourself the most money. Bear comes with a lifetime warranty and a 120-night sleep trial to make sure you love it. A mattress is one of those things you might want to test to see if you like it, and Bear offers you that opportunity. The mattress is shipped to your door, and all Bear mattresses are fiberglass free and Green Guard certified, meaning it's not made with any of those BS materials. Take advantage of my huge discount running for a limited time with my link, bearmattress.com/that'sgood. Get 40% off plus $400 in sleep accessories. And no, I am not a sleep accessory. You can't have me. Let's begin with Davante Adams, the most obvious trade piece looming in the NFL right now. Davante Adams, the former Packer and soon-to-be former Raider, we think. Prayers to Davante and that hamstring injury. I hope it's magically able to heal as soon as he gets to where he wants to go. Now, Adams has already expressed that he wants out, and the Raiders appear to be happy to cooperate with the team, reportedly seeking a 2nd rounder and an additional pick for the nearly 32-year-old receiver. I think they're probably going to have to lower that asking price because of his age, and also because he's going to carry a $44 million cap hit in each of the next 2 seasons, although there is a potential out after this year. And guess who agrees with me?
Not for a 2nd round pick, which supposedly is what they're asking for.
That's ridiculous.
I don't see how anybody's going to give a 2nd round pick for him. You'd have to feel like this guy is Adams is going to take us to the promised land, and he's going to get us over the hump this year because he's also got a big salary.
The way Bill just tosses that notion into the garbage is perfect, Bill. Almost as perfect as Bill getting a nod during Hurricane Milton.
You might still be in the eye right now. There's a lot more to go. I think back to, the Atlanta Falcons first half Super Bowl winner. We know what happened to the second half.
This wasn't a big secret. This storm's been brewing for a while. And
more surprising though, Antonio Pierce is giving a positive Davante Adams update.
He's still a Raider. When he's healthy and he can play, we'll play him. Like I said, we talked recently and had a good conversation. He's ready to play football.
Maybe Adams watched the Jets this week and had a change of heart. I don't know. There are a couple obvious teams where he makes sense as a mid-season acquisition, and I stress mid-season because he's going to have to hit the ground running and contribute right away. Therefore, it makes the most sense if he joins up with either of his two former quarterbacks still playing, Aaron Rodgers in New York or Derek Carr in New Orleans, right? Let's start with the Jets. They are massively underperforming on offense, scoring 93 points through their first 5 games. That's exactly how many they scored last year with Zachy Wilson. Breece Hall has been a massive disappointment, and Garrett Wilson is only putting up 58 yards per game right now, and Aaron Rodgers hasn't had a 300-yard passing day through the air in 28 starts. And they just switched play callers as well. Allen Lazard, yes, Allen Lazard is their second leading receiver, which should not happen in 2024. They're extremely shallow at wide receiver, and it doesn't help either that their third-round pick, Malachi Corley, has only caught 1 pass for 4 yards. Mike Williams is averaging 36 yards a game. Adams changes that equation immediately. You have instant chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, and it takes some of the heat off of Garrett Wilson as the load-bearing receiver in that offense. You're almost in a place where you have to do this if you're the Jets, right? You're sitting at 2-3 with a 40-year-old QB with a division that's still up for grabs. It's never been more of a win-now scenario for a team trying to end a playoff drought that stretches back to 2010. It's got to happen, and if they don't get Adams in the building, I will assume they're resigned to losing for the rest of this season. Now, I was ready to pencil in the Saints as a potential trade destination, but after 3 straight losses and the injury to Derek Carr, Adams' college and NFL teammate and really good friend, I don't think it's a particularly wise move for the Saints anymore, or Adams. But there's a different team that could use Davante.
There's a couple teams. I think there's a sneaky team that a lot of people aren't talking about that could come in late.
Does the sneaky team rhyme with Schmills? It does? Shoot, I'm so good.
Davante Adams then suddenly followed Josh Allen on Instagram. Does that mean he's a Bill? Yes, it does. Or at the very least, I think it does indicate that the Bills have quietly been talking to the Raiders about making this work. If the Raiders pay most of Adams' salary, which the Bills need, maybe the Bills have the best trade offer on the table. The Baltimore Ravens. We know they're already legit, right? They were a sleeping giant, and they woke the hell up. Lamar is once again playing at an MVP level, and 30-year-old Derrick Henry was the perfect puzzle piece in that offense, averaging 6 yards per carry. They're going to the playoffs, but we know it's all about getting over the hump in January, especially with the disappearing act by Mark Andrews. If I'm the Ravens, I don't think I want to go the rest of the year with Zay Flowers as my only target in the receiving game. And if you add Davante Adams to that offense now, we're talking about a team that has firepower to win on the ground and through the air at a very dynamic level. Amari Cooper. He's already been traded twice in his 10-year career, and we might as well make it a clean 3. A good round number like 3. A 30-year-old wide receiver on the Browns is a total waste right now. Cooper deserves to be somewhere he can win, and he deserves to catch passes from a quarterback who gives a shit and isn't actively pulling off the biggest heist in NFL history. I'm not terribly worried about Cooper being 30. He averaged a career-best 83 yards per game with 87 different quarterbacks throwing him passes, but it's clear now that he's better off getting flipped to a team that could actually use him. Unfortunately, the Chiefs make a ton of sense. They've been dealt a couple huge injuries at the wide receiver position. They're still winning, and their offense has been mind-numbingly void of explosion, even as the team has jumped out to a 5-0 start. I feel the evil in me. If you can get a burner like Worthy, a vibes guy like Kelsey, and a precision route runner like Cooper together, it might just unlock all 3 of them. God knows I don't want that to happen, But there's no way this team is content with Juju Smith-Schuster or Justin Watson starting at the X receiver. Now, Juju had a big night in prime time, but you can't depend on Tyrann Mathieu falling down every week. Juju contributed to the Chiefs' red zone woes in that game. Don't forget that. Remember, the last 2 years, the Chiefs added to their receiver room mid-season. Kadarius Toney in 20-22 and Mecole Hardman in 20-23. Both of them ended up scoring touchdowns in the Super Bowl for their wins. The Chiefs will make a move at this position, I believe, and I think it could be it. But what if my Denver Broncos scooped him up first? Oh, hell yeah! Let's make it happen, Denver. Denver has a lot of okay at wide receiver. They've got 2 big-bodied guys in Cortland Sutton and Josh Reynolds, and they've got a couple burners in Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin. None of them have lit it up yet, but I think Cooper makes perfect sense as a guy with the skill set Denver doesn't have, which is polish. Maybe Cooper helps Denver's offense kick things into the next gear and make a playoff push. But even if that doesn't happen, it just feels like a good move for Bo Nix's development to have a true number 1 as opposed to their current wide receiver by committee approach. And we've got Haason Reddick, who will not be traded back to the Eagles. That much we know. He also doesn't appear likely to ever report to the Jets, unless the presence of Robert Saleh was the reason he was holding out. So that leaves about 30 teams he could join before the trade deadline. And now, I'm going to talk about each and every one of them. I'm kidding. I would never do that to you or myself. One place that makes a ton of sense is Atlanta. They invested in their defense with the acquisition of Justin Simmons. They traded for Matt Judon, who's got 1.5 sacks through the first 5 games. Again, they are the worst edge rushing team in the league. Overall, the Falcons' defense just has 5 sacks through 5 games. They haven't had a pass rush in a long time, and if they want to take advantage of their opportunity to win the NFC South, it makes sense to double down and add Reddick, who has double-digit sacks the last 4 years. Sure, he's already 32, but they want to maximize their window with Kirk Cousins right now and get into the playoffs and make some noise. There's also potential for a return to Arizona, where Reddick started his career. After their upset of the 49ers, the Cardinals are just a game out of the extremely bizarre NFC West, and if they want to climb the standings, they should work on a pass rush that's 19th in sacks with a hurry percentage of just 3.7, second to last in the league right now.
I don't want pressure. We got to get to the quarterback and get him on the ground.
And now it's going to be a lot harder for Reddick to actually be traded after his own talent agency left him. That news came out after I shot this segment, and I feel like he's going nowhere without an agent. Had he parted ways with them instead of them leaving him, I would have a little bit of hope. Now I have none. Sorry, Atlanta. This wouldn't be a trade episode without a titillating Russell Wilson segment. Look, Russ can't stand that he's been relegated to the status of Mr. Limited Calf. There's a chance the Steelers lose a couple games in a row with Justin Fields, and maybe that would be enough for Mike Tomlin to finally put Russell Wilson into the starting lineup. But let's say the Steelers rebound from their 2-game skid and regain their winning formula. I think it then makes sense to deal Russell Wilson to a team that desperately needs a steady hand at QB. Here's a place that makes sense to me. Las Vegas. This was already rumored in the offseason, right? And we can tell that Antonio Pierce is already regretting his decision to roll into the season with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, who he's already flip-flopped on once this season. If you are having a quarterback competition at practice week 5, you are fucked. If Pierce wants to save his job and salvage a respectable record, he might get desperate and send a late-round pick for a couple months of Russell Wilson. Russ would love a chance to play against the Broncos this year, and he's already got a built-in catchphrase at the end of the press conference with, "Just win, baby." I think Russ would buy in so hard that he actually would wear an eye patch after the game talking to the media. Russ might actually wear an eye patch on the field. Now, maybe the same is true for Mike McDaniel in Miami. We really have no idea what the timetable is for Tua's return, but it doesn't feel like he's on the fast track to return anytime soon. This offense just does not work close to the same with Skylar Thompson or Tyler Huntley. Let's get Russ in the building to throw some freaking moon balls to Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Unless Tyreek Hill's on his way out. The Dolphins could trade Tyreek Hill. Let's be honest, they're not turning this season around, and Hill is being wasted in an offense without a competent passing attack. Hill has just 156 yards since week 1, and Miami could get a decent pick for him next year while they try to figure out what to do with Tua and their offense going forward. And Hill may be trying to give his team the hint after he posted highlights of himself from his Chiefs days to his Snapchat. People still use Snapchat? What the fuck? Remember, Tyreek Hill and Davante Adams were already both traded in the same offseason a few years ago. It would be funny to see him traded again. I cannot entertain Hill going back to Kansas City, though. It makes me sick. Physically sick, ill. I won't do it. Sure, he would immediately add another dimension to that offense that we literally haven't seen since Tyreek Hill was on the Chiefs. I just can't have it. The NFL can't have it. And hell, if you're the Chiefs, do you really want him back? You've done nothing but win Super Bowls since you traded him, and you're 5-0. But if the reports were true that Kansas City was willing to give the Raiders a second rounder for Adams and more, they might give more to get Miami to send them Hill, who is younger and more explosive than Davante. So let's put him on the Buffalo Bills instead. The Bills desperately need to add some speed to their offense. They've got a big presence on the outside with Keon Coleman and an excellent possession receiver with Khalil Shakir, but I want to see Josh Allen throw the football at 80 yards down the field to Tyreek Hill. Also, it might be a necessary preemptive strike against the Chiefs since they handed Worthy to them in the draft. But it would also include cooperation from an AFC East rival, the Dolphins, to make that happen. But God, it would be so fun. I think a more realistic destination for Hill would actually be the Washington Commanders. The team already knows they struck gold with Jaden Daniels, and the rookie QB window starts right now. So it's time to capitalize and add a speedster opposite Terry McLaurin. I've seen Darius Slay mentioned quite a few times.
Slay. Big play Slay, man.
You rarely see the Eagles sell at the trade deadline, but if all you do is buy, you're probably going to go broke at some point, right? Philly will get A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson back. If they get back on track after having this early season bye, there's no way they move on from Slay, who is still playing very well. His name has been mentioned because they already released him once back in March of 2023. He, of course, came back to the Eagles. If Philly loses their next 3 games, then Slay could be a hot commodity, and the Steelers have shown interest in his services, but I think this one's unlikely. And I know there's a lot of receivers on today's list, but that's because they are expendable, especially for bad football teams with bad quarterbacks. And right now, the Titans and Panthers are bad teams. If you don't have the quarterback to get the receiver the ball, you start to ask yourself, why am I paying for these receiver services? It's like wanting a tattoo, and instead of finding a great tattoo artist, you just buy a tattoo gun. You have 2 of the 3 pieces, and now you got an ugly fucking tattoo. No regrets. But you still don't have the most important piece, right? DeAndre Hopkins or Diontae Johnson could be dealt if Carolina and Tennessee keep losing. They probably will. Hopkins, in 4 games this season, had just 1 game with more than 2 receptions. The only thing dumber than Bill O'Brien trading D-Hop to the Cardinals was D-Hop choosing the Titans over, 90% of the other teams he could have gone to in 2023. Hopkins, like all other underutilized veteran receivers, has been linked to the Chiefs, but I think Diontae Johnson is in the better position to be moved, and he has the higher upside. Carolina is not committed to him beyond this season, which means whoever would trade for him wouldn't be either. You know who could use Diontae Johnson? The Steelers! Wouldn't be a trade episode without mentioning one T. Higgins, who any team would be high on landing. I pray to God the Bengals still hate the Chiefs enough to not send T. Higgins to Kansas City. And the Bengals are now basically 1 loss away from, I think, actually dealing T. Higgins. We thought they'd be competitive, and they have been competitive, but they have 4 losses under their striped belts. 1 more loss, and they're basically out of playoff contention, and any team, the Broncos, the Chargers, whoever you see on this list would be interested in T. Higgins' services, and I believe he would simply go to the highest bidder. Finally, 2 guys, 1 team. Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne. One of the bigger disappointments of the young season, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, the Jags just won their first game against Indy, but I still believe they're in a position to offload some talent if they lose again. Their former first-round running back, Travis Etienne, should be expendable, especially after that breakout game from Tank Bigsby against the Colts. The Jags picked up Etienne's fifth-year option, but I don't think spending long-term on a running back is the move for this franchise that's got a lot of retooling to do. So let's send Etienne to the Dallas Cowboys. Yeehaw! That's right, Jared Jones, time to go all in for that glory hole days. And here's your chance to do it, Jerry. Etienne would instantly improve a rushing attack that's averaging the second fewest yards per carry in the league. And their longest carry by a running back this season, 13 yards by Rico Dowdle. I don't know if the Cowboys can afford Etienne long term, but a season and a half from a two-time 1,000-yard rusher could help Dallas become a little less one-dimensional on offense. Jacksonville might also want to consider moving on from receiver Christian Kirk, who's been overshadowed by rookie wideout Brian Thomas Jr. in the early going this season. He's probably not going to fetch a ton in return because he's got a cap hit of over $27 million next year, but he's been productive in the last 3 games and would upgrade a team with the wide receiver need immediately. As much as I would like to put Christian Kirk with Kirk Cousins in Atlanta for that sweet Kirk on Kirk action, I think they've got a good thing going down there right now. But what about a team like the Chargers? I know Quentin Johnston is no longer dropping every other pass, and Ladd McConkey has been quietly solid.
Hey, that's Ladd McConkey, if y'all don't know. He's him!
But Josh Palmer is giving them just 23 yards per game, and they need that third option in the passing game if their rushing attack ever breaks down. And those are my predictions. Do you agree or disagree with me? How wrong am I or how right am I? Tell me. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. Do a sub or YouTube will send me to jail. They're threatening to send me to prison if I don't get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the season.
No, YouTube, I can't! I can't go there!